think they said Joe Biden was all Jeeps too. Somebody was saying that it was all Jeeps. I don't know if there's a Chrysler connection.
What's up, folks? Eddie Ads here. I'm with Dave. Dave Down Under, Detroit Dave. We are in the D right now, at the corner of Larned and Shelby, and we're walking once again to the TCF Center / Cobo Hall. It looks like all things are quiet on the Western Front here, but we're gonna just walk around, see what's going on. There's a bit of people out and about here, but it looks like they've kind of cordoned off or bordered off even a larger portion of Washington Boulevard right in front of the TCF Center. And that chick was just waving at us for some reason.
She saw we were on camera. I think she saw that your new that Tom very generously donated. So thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, for the new gimbal. I think she was checking it out. She might have been looking at Dave though too. So each scenario is equally as likely.
Yeah.
But here we walk up to TCF Center. Okay, if you remember 2 nights ago, here's TCF.
Now the only protester is here. Blackberries matter. Blackberries matter. Yeah. Where's Warren Flood?
We're the only
question Warren Flood.
We're the only guys here right now, and okay. So yesterday they were all on this wall here, if you remember.
Are we allowed to be
and
the is Warren Flood allowed? He said that nobody's allowed to be in this area.
There's no reason why you shouldn't be allowed to be.
Yeah.
In this area.
Okay. But it wasn't Warren Flood that made an order that said that people couldn't be here.
Yes.
Okay.
What was that?
Warren Flood, is he the one that barricaded this off?
Who's that?
He was the one that did the help with the DNC hacking with Seth Rich, all that stuff. He was the Microsoft worker that was identified as the one that worked with Dmitry Alperovich with the Fancy Bears and Cozy Bears. You don't remember that from 2016?
I remember the Seth Rich thing, but I don't remember all those details.
But you didn't remember Warren Flood was the Microsoft guy that was running that operation for the DNC?
Oh, I believe it. I just don't remember the name.
Yeah. Oh, you work here? You work here?
No, I'm here I was here all yesterday and the day before.
For protesting?
Yeah.
Or has anything been going on this morning?
No, and it's kind of odd because the first day or two, it started pretty early, like 9 o'clock.
But nobody's talking about Warren Flood running the operation for the election crisis or whatever, that he's the one that's sort of the operative that runs these things. That
I have not
talks
heard
about that?
Down here. I've definitely not heard that narrative.
Okay.
And the people I've talked to down here, they haven't gone to that granular level that you're talking about.
Okay.
Like the actual.
So most people you think are just focused on right now with the election that just happened, and they're not kind of tying back the 2016 the conflicts with the Russian interference in the 2016 election, like that. You don't think that's on the minds of people that possibly that there's a connection between the interference that Adam Schiff told us about with the impeachment, that's not related in any way to the 2020 election?
You're asking me if I think that?
I'm just curious because you're down here with all the protesters. I'm just like an observer, so I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I've not heard anybody talk about that. I would not be surprised at all. I mean, I would actually expect what you're talking about to be accurate.
Yeah. Because you're a Detroit native or a Michigan native?
Michigan native, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you were with the, I guess, pro-Trump, or maybe a better way to put it is investigating fraud election group that was here.
I would say both of those.
Okay. And so how long have you been here this morning?
I just got here.
You just got here. Yeah. Okay, as did we. We were actually going to get here earlier, but we did some other stops and other travel logs. But no, you haven't seen anybody else here so far this morning.
Correct.
So you were here 2 nights ago, though? Do you remember when we were up?
The first day, was it Thursday?
Okay. Were you here in the afternoon?
I was here till about 3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't here in the afternoon, but I did come at night. And so it sounds like it moved from the bridge, and they were way up there yesterday.
What's his name? The one guy from Fox News was there.
Oh, he was.
Who's
that? You know?
I don't watch
Fox News
Fox. I
guys?
don't know.
Well, you see.
Not Tucker.
No. He was like older guy.
Okay.
Probably like late 50s, a black guy. And
This guy or like a Detroit Fox local Fox?
national. He was working for Freedom Works.
Huh.
And so then the Black Lives Matter guy showed up, and it got argumentative. Right?
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
But they weren't asking about Warren Flood. That wasn't the main thing.
Why don't you tell me that idea? Tell me again.
So Warren Flood is a Microsoft employee that was supposedly the one that was working with Dmitry Alperovich at CrowdStrike, which did the investigation of the hacks.
Right.
Okay. And so he was apparently this operative that was running that operation for the 2016 election hacking. Remember from the Mueller report, we had the Russian trolls that were identified.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like people don't remember any of the Russian trolls. Nobody remembers the cozy bears, the fancy bears, the pinch bears. Nobody remembers the.
That is right down there to the bottom.
And then the IRA, which was I think they were trying to shade it to sort of the Irish thing, but it was really the hacking group that was. Saying like cool and neat or whatever. Those were like the comments that they were using to interfere in the 2016 election that, Bob Mueller said that we were hanging, by a thread of our democracy, that these, Krylova and Bogacheva, these Russian operatives were doing all these different, activities with the toxic cloud in Lafayette, Louisiana.
What's the toxic cloud?
Well, apparently what they do is they go around to different, gas companies and refineries around the country, and they're able to capture the off gases and reuse them. So that's what they do is they go around and they're able to recondense these gases into usable fuel. And so they basically go to these different facilities to offer these services to people who have existing gas and oil refinery operations.
Oh, wow.
And so there was a release of a toxic cloud that was in Lafayette that was, in the Mueller report. I don't know if people, I feel like nobody remembers the Mueller report, the details of that stuff.
Well, maybe I misunderstand then what you're describing. Because, okay, are you saying that
that did the 2016 with the DNC hacks, right? That led to the Seth Rich situation with the DCCC. Remember,
they're doing this election fraud thing too?
Well, he's lived in Detroit working for Microsoft, for the last 4 years, I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't have all the details of it, but
But this morning, you haven't seen anyone else here yesterday. Were you here last night or just in the morning or just?
This is the book. I'm going to gift that to you so you can read about it and you can learn the history. Actually, maybe my signed copy. Oh, it's Addie's signed copy. I won't give it away. But basically, if you read this book, you can learn all the history of the BlackBerries that Imran Awan, who was Debbie Wasserman's staffer, that was running the IT for the Capitol Hill. Yeah. I feel like nobody remembers.
He can have that. George can sign me another one.
Sure?
Yeah. No, that's all right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, but Flood is in here. He was supposed to be the Microsoft operative that was basically working.
Happens, and you couldn't correct me, but I believe when I talk to normal people, when I say normal people that aren't deep in the weeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
They don't grasp all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because for nothing else, they'll figure they'll get stuck in right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that your average voter or your average concerned person that's here is going like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah,
and,
I think so.
And so I don't know if you've heard, there's also talk about other things happening right now.
I try not to pay much attention to that stuff because I feel like a lot of times that, they offer these kind of these stories to get people to really dig into them, to
like a fish hook type thing.
Yeah, kind of like the QAnon type thing,
right,
where they're trying to get you to say that you're the only reason you're investigating this stuff is because you're actually a secret neo-Nazi pedophile yourself, and the only reason you're so interested in it is because it's kind of a cover for that, and they're going to try to thread that needle.
Right. The Hall of Mirrors never ends.
And I don't know if you guys heard, but today
I feel like most people are not like that, and they don't want that association, but they're unfairly lumped together. But of course, with Congress, passing a law, making the terrorist group, the QAnon on. That scares me too. So I do feel like we're in an environment where, the idea that you could be targeted as a threat to national security is a very real thing, and I feel like they don't really need much much evidence to support that. I feel like they can basically say that about anybody they want to. And
I don't know if you guys heard, but in Lansing, I guess, which is the capital of Michigan, as I understand, is where the protest has went to.
What's up?
And did you guys? Did you?
I heard something about Lansing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people aren't here, but I don't
It must
know.
be, yeah.
So
I would
have you
guess
heard
that's
about the
why.
Mackinac plot then with Whitmer and with Peter Strzok and those guys, meeting up at Mackinac Island?
I heard about that maybe a month or two ago.
Right. I think it was the same time when Whitmer's husband was trying to get his boat released from the marina first.
Yeah.
But apparently there was this meeting up at Mackinac Island. You know the history of Mackinac Island?
No.
Okay. You know where it is, though,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Kind of up between the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula?
Yeah, absolutely. We've all seen the movie.
What's the movie?
Somewhere in Time.
I've never seen that movie.
Reeve.
I need to watch that.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm the...
Real short, this guy sees a woman in a photo and from Chicago, and she's beautiful. So Christopher Reeve drives up there, and he wills himself to go back in time. And
Interesting.
He goes back up there, and the whole movie's on the island.
Interesting.
It's actually, it's
See, I've only been there, I think, once or twice. It was probably both times before I was 5 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
So all I remember is the clip clop of the horses on the cobblestone. I remember going to eat the fudge and stuff like that. I remember the Grand Hotel with the giant porch.
Well, I want to know your thoughts. What's your name?
Matt.
Of this whole situation we find ourselves in as it pertains to TCF and the election this week. What do you think?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, as a Michigan native. As a Michigan native, what do you think about everything that's going on and the protests that you've attended as well?
As a citizen and a Michigan native, I'm really concerned because nothing here adds up. And it's almost frightening to the sense where it's so obvious, but it's still going to go through. And that bizarre scenario scares the hell out of me because people have no idea then what is left and what is right. What is up and what is down.
So you think there's some rigging going on?
Absolutely. I watched interviews and of people that were there for 13 hours standing there. How aggressive the Democratic they had trained all these vote counters exactly how to handle things. And not only were they trained, the people that were doing the votes, they had people behind them being belligerent. So let's just say you were the poll worker and you were the Republican poll worker, whatever it was. They were on you like nothing. And if your mask slipped, if you walked too close, right? Because they made up that rule, right? Anything that can distance you from delegitimizing their scam.
So who do you think was behind that then, as far as the enforcing the mask rules and things like that? Like, what do you pin that on one specific group? Is that the security hired by TCF, or do you think that's affiliated with one of the parties possibly?
I think that the reason why the people that were on the ground doing the corrupt poll people, those are Coleman Young's legacy. They've been doing that stuff for years.
The Act Blues people that are affiliated with the DNC and all that group?
Yeah, I don't know the name of the group, but I do know that's what as a Michigander, that's kind of what I see. Okay, that's why they're so good at doing it, right? If you trained me to do that today, I'd fumble it for a long time.
So you still think of the legacy of Coleman Young, you think it's still alive in right now, even with his, I feel like his illegitimate son ran for mayor a couple of years ago and didn't get much traction. See, I grew up in Birmingham, so obviously I have like this suburban perspective. But the family would always come down to Detroit. I was always aware of Coleman Young and his role. But I also went to school with Dennis Archer's kids at Country Day.
Okay.
So I saw he was a mayor also of Detroit. So there have been great leaders for Detroit as well. So again, Coleman Young, I think, goes back. When was he last in office? In like maybe 90? Talking about 30 years ago, maybe that was his.
Something like maybe mid 80s, right?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he was in office for a long time. We just walked by John Conyers Street right there. What's your as a Detroiter? What's your impression of Talib taking over that historically iconic black House seat?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm not shocked because one corrupt person is going to inherit another corrupt person's spot. You know, that's kind of how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems with people that are freedom conservative people, it's one of the flaws is that, you know, we don't really like bureaucracies at all.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, things should be straightforward and simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's my perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that, if I can speak in the broadest terms, I think that leftist type people love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That the details is where they do their work. And you know, conservatives are not like that, and they're also fragmented. I mean, even like 40 years ago, I bet you most conservatives were like resistant to types of groups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, groups are corruptible.
Yeah.
You know, and then they get on the train with certain bad ideas, and you know.
Have you always voted conservative or
No.
recently?
No, I changed. I voted for Barack Obama the first time,
Mm-hmm.
but my mentality changed from then.
What did Barack and Biden bring to the table to you in 2000?
I'm a totally different person.
But you just like the idea of the hope and growth and coming together culturally.
I was working 15 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
For
industry?
Video production.
Okay.
So I was you don't have time to look into anything. I mean, this is tight.
Yeah. No.
You don't have time to even look into the fact that those, you know, that kind of stuff, the votes and all that. You just accept things for the way they are. Mm-hmm. But my life changed around that time, and I had the time to lift your head up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I slowly started to look at what's that, and you know, I really had no basis whatsoever to think of how does what's a role of government at all.
Right.
And everybody has I think their lives change. They come to that awareness at different points.
Right.
Some people are 15 years old.
Yeah.
You know,
so when you think of Obama, do you think that he is somebody that is kind of like controlling a lot of this stuff, or do you see him more as a figurehead character that sort of is a front man for a larger organization?
I see Obama as somebody that they tapped a long time ago to
Mm-hmm.
be a tool.
Okay.
They say, you know, we can't sell this stuff with John McCain.
Right. You think it was Peter Strzokstad, the Safari Club, and that was the one that tapped him?
I think my personal, so I don't know that level of detail.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually say that the global banks in some fashion actually have a way of, you know, I think most people unfortunately are for sale.
What's your definition of a global bank? Like, what do you see as being the power group behind that?
Well, I guess there's, you know, I'm just a guy that lives in Michigan, so there's no real way for me to know,
mm-hmm.
right? So you can say it's, you know, whatever, all like the Club of Rome, or, you know, the Bilderbergs,
right.
or Illuminati. You can put any name. I have no idea to know the difference.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if your book was spot on, and you told me why, I wouldn't actually be able to verify it.
Yeah.
Even if I, to the core, I sense it was real.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
but I do think that these global banks, you know, one way or the other, this Federal Reserve System that they own, I think that's where they're here. The United States government's way down.
So is Nelson Aldrich one of the great villains of the 20th century?
I don't know that name.
So Nelson Aldrich was he was the one that came up with the money trust in 1914. He's the one that brought together all of the bankers, the Warburgs, the Kuhn-Loebs, the Rockefeller bankers. Nelson Aldrich was actually named Nelson Aldrich because he was his grandfather was Nelson Aldrich. So again, when you look at the history of these things and saying, you know, that banking system is too complicated, I think if you go back in time and look at sort of key characters like that really, you know, developed the American Federal Reserve System. If you look at World War II, the partnerships the American industrialists had with the Russians, but also with the Nazis, with the English. If you look at those banking relationships, like Union Bank, that was, you know, Prescott Bush and those guys, Rockefellers. I think you can tie back a lot of the banking relationships. I think it is intentionally made to be really, really complicated.
Right,
but I think if you go back to those points in time, like when you talk about like banking in Rome, right, they had what was called Lombard banking, was the system of pawnbrokering that they used back then. I think another system that gets people jammed up is that they think that banking is only monetary lending, and the idea that script is used, and script is basically an asset in place of a currency. That's a lot of times these dealings, like when you talk about the drugs, you know, the guns, oil, and drugs sort of network, like when you study like Gladio, the Phoenix program, when you study the Iran-Contra, all this stuff, a lot of times money isn't the asset that's traded. It's actually a barter system where they'll trade the drugs for the guns straight up. So there's not a financial transaction that happens. So a lot of times these schemes are very complicated because people want to see the receipt. They want to see who signed for this, bag of drugs. When that didn't happen, it was this box of, gunpowder was traded for this bag of cocaine.
Okay.
And that's kind of how those systems worked. And when you look at the whole Air America, Mena, Arkansas, the leg that Wexner and Epstein are running in Columbus at Rickenbacker Airport, which is part of that same Iran-Contra group. They all sort of had their own kind of players that were, part of it. But it is a very complicated system. But if you look back at the history of it, you can pinpoint who the characters are.
So you said you were working 15 hours a day before. I'm guessing you have more free time on your hands now, and that's why
That's correct.
you're doing some protests and stuff. Do you plan on going to Lansing today, or?
Probably not.
No. Okay.
I thought maybe people will start showing up. Maybe they won't.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they won't because nobody's here. Maybe this is it. Maybe I missed the memo. Right.
Yeah, I think it was at noon actually, which is it's getting close to noon here in Lansing, where the Stop the Steal guys were going to meet up, which is this conservative group. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
# Stop the Steal. I guess their website is stopthesteal.us.
Oh yeah, Stop the Steal. That's right. I was thinking different.
And I interviewed Brandon Straka here a couple of days ago, so that was nice.
He was there, yeah.
Yeah. So I must have been here at the same time
Have you
that
met
you
Brandon
were.
Straka? Are you aware of him as a character in media?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of him before. So there are a lot of these characters that kind of, I don't follow a lot of, I don't follow any of the mainstream news at all. I haven't for a while, and I don't follow a lot of the online personalities really either. It's hard for me to get into it. It's a lot of.
It makes sense because it's almost like watching. It'd be like me watching the nightly news.
It's like fandom. To me, that's when Alan Dulles talks about setting up the CIA, he did what was called focal point centers, where he would go into the different countries. And I feel like society's been organized that way, where you sort of have a focal point or like a influencer or a leader or an iconic figure that you sort of build your life trying to, like, this is my guy, like I agree with him, or this team, or I'm from this city or this country. And I feel like we're taught, growing up, that that's how we should think, is to be tribal in that way and to, sort of have these different iconic leaders. And for me, when I'm looking into this stuff, the problem is a lot of these iconic figures are actually some of the, they're the drugs and weapons dealers of history. And, they just hide themselves as, these industrialists or, presidents or world leaders and stuff like that.
That's one of the issues, though, because I think normal people don't think at that level. Say Joe, your neighbor, doesn't go, it's fucking like a conspiracy, man.
What about, let me ask you this one. So Hunter Biden, to me, his activities are very interesting. It ties into all of the, the Belt and Road Initiative and sort of doing these, 100-year energy, using uranium as the next, the new great game, the way, that petroleum was for, Churchill and FDR and these guys. I feel like the new great game is this uranium. And I feel like Hunter is just all over this deal, yet we're not allowed to even explore his activities. What's your thoughts on that?
I'll be honest with you. There's always something like that in an election, right? Some freaky.
I don't know.
Some freaky scenario.
It's the Belt and Road. I mean, it's a worldwide logistics system.
I'm not talking about that actually.
You're just trying to have like a scandal. This comes up.
A scandal, and I absolutely believe that guy's a scumbag, and he.
Do you know, like, Rosemont Seneca, the history of their deals, Bohai Harvest, Glencore?
What are your thoughts about like the next coming weeks? What do you hope can happen? What can we do? Because it does seem like there's a rigged, some sort of organized operation going on.
Us three of us haven't dropped dead yet standing here. That should tell you a whole lot. So, I think that in the next week or two, I think this is being timed out. I think Trump has got. Who
do you say when this is? Who are your figureheads of your groups that people would know? Like, who do you pin as like the ones in the room? Figuring out you were gonna do we're gonna bring this bag of votes in the Ferrari and drop it off, and like who's the one that's planning this out?
Okay, let's just say hypothetically, that Trump did they figured out a way to watermark these ballots.
Okay.
Okay, let's pretend that's true. Okay, and let's say they find out that they know who in here did those things, right? So these people are at one level, and these people you've never heard of before, only you probably know.
Warren
by the way,
Flood is his name.
Okay.
He's the one that did the printing operation.
I'm talking about
in
these
Windsor.
global bankers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would know them, but I would never, even me, I would never know them.
Yeah.
You'll never even.
They're intentionally meant to be private. They don't say who they are, but if you go back to the original characters, you can see kind of which banks they.
Well, this also
form.
brings up another point. I mean, you obviously know what those Kubrick movies are about.
Which one?
Well, 2001 and The Shining.
Oh, I didn't
and
see
Eyes
any.
Wide
I
Shut.
didn't watch any of those.
Is that Stanley Kubrick? Stanley Kubrick.
So I went to this high school, Detroit Country Day School,
Yeah.
that has a lot of these characters in it. And my English professor, Mr. Freemuth, he was a Princeton grad, and he loved being from the Ivy League, and he loved Stanley Kubrick. It was his all-time.
Okay.
So what's the deal with Stanley
#1.
Kubrick?
Okay, I'll go. Okay, so one example. So the one movie's called Eyes Wide Shut.
I've heard about that's the
Okay,
that's
Tom Cruise and the
that's supposed to be like the sex cult, the orgies, and
Right.
all that stuff.
Okay, so
very QAnon. I feel like all the Q followers would know that one.
So you got to wonder what even the title of the movie means, and it means that your eyes are wide open, but you still don't see the vast system that's controlling things. Okay, in the movie, Stanley Kubrick's movies, he wanted to make them. You know how like you watch 9/11, and then you saw the building down the street go down for no reason, like a bag of bricks, and then you go, huh?
So I have a trivia question for you. Can you name the building that was the inspiration for the World Trade Center?
No.
Addy adds.
Oh, it was this the Guardian building, right? Or
One
the
Woodward.
One Woodward. Yeah. You can kind of see it.
Yeah, we got to go around.
But that's all right.
The inspiration for the World Trade Center
Huh.
was the same architect. I think it's Yakasami was his name.
I saw him once. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, his architecture firm was up in Troy. He was affiliated with all the Cranbrook artists, but this one Woodward was the model that the two towers were based off of. If you look at the exoskeleton, how they had the small windows, because instead of using sort of, hey, good, we're making a movie. You're on YouTube. You're on YouTube all around the world right now. Say again?
You guys are meeting up here today or what?
Oh, just us, I
We
guess.
just arrived. We're doing a YouTube video right now, so you're on TV all around the world. We're just reporting on the claims of election interference going on at the TCF Center, so we're just doing reporting outside the center just to see what's going on. We're not affiliated with any of the protest groups at all. We're just reporters here doing journalism. Is there a time? Is this not public space right now, or is it blocked off?
We're really blocked off. We're just doing that.
We're just making movies, but we didn't know if Warren Flood had this area blocked off.
It really is. How long
Okay.
we been?
We can go anywhere. We're just trying to show it to the people. People are interested. They want to know the history of Cobo Hall with Bob Seger and everything too. So we're just doing a trip down memory lane for Detroit here. Yep.
So because
Get a name real quick if you don't mind, my man.
No, you don't have to give him that.
Oh, do I?
What's your name? What's your name and badge number?
Office plate 3937.
3937 DPD Detroit. Okay. Cool. We're David from Birmingham. We're doing a show on Addy Ads on YouTube, reporting live from
All right, Dave.
Cobo Hall. Do I have to get?
No, you don't. Come over here, Dave. Come over here. Let's walk.
Do you want to take a picture of my driver's license and everything? I'm a journalist. The thing is,
So, what are your thoughts? Final thoughts
okay.
and hopes for the next coming weeks.
I think in the next couple of weeks that Trump is going to expose the corruption and the lack of integrity in the voting.
Yeah.
And I think he will be elected again. And if you ask me about what happens after that, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, you can speculate. I think the country's going to blow up, theoretically. There's a lot of stuff Trump talked about that's pretty weird stuff, like Operation Warp Speed, right? I mean, what the hell's that about? I mean, I actually wondered if that really wasn't really about a vaccine. That was his way of keeping pressure down in these cities. By having he was going to use the army, the military to go around, right? You know what I'm talking about? So, it's hard to tell because we're not in the room when they talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
But I am optimistic that at least the integrity of the vote will be upheld, whatever that turns out to be. And I believe it. I believe it was a massive landslide for Trump, whether you like him or not.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. And it's Tom, right?
No, Matt.
I'm sorry, Matt.
Yep, no problem. No problem.
I'm here with Matt, local Michigander, giving his thoughts. We're live here from TCF. Big protest at Lansing today. Eddie Ads, Detroit Dave, and
Matt.
my man Matt. Awesome. Thanks, man. Stay frosty.